This is East Coast DNA. I'm your host, Darcy Walsh, and today's guest today we have ZWeRG. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So right away, I'm sure anyone that's watching us in any of the visual mediums for the show with the full video, they can see that you have a different look right off the bat.
Yes, we're shooting a new video tomorrow for Jaredactyl. And my brother it's about my brother, Jared Betts. He's DJ Jaredactyl. And he is also known as, DJ Jaredactyl for his goth nights that he holds in Atlantic Canada. And the style of music that he plays, he's enamored with goth wave and dark wave, synth wave, new wave, lots of waves. So the sound for the song, I wanted it to be early 80s new wave, synth wave. And I try to make a character for each song. And this character is the new wave water weirdo, because my brother is also obsessed with crustaceans and all the creatures under the sea. He is the painter of the world's largest lobster in Shediac, New Brunswick.
Awesome.
He's an abstract painter. Yeah, so that's why there's all kinds of like paint splatter and jellyfish and fins and spines and crazy stuff.
The outfits are something you design yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a lot of time and thought put into them. I did see quite a few of the different variations that you've done over the last few years too, looking online. So is that something let's go way back. Like I had mentioned to you here, I did do a little bit of research, so I had a few little notes. So we could take it whatever direction you want. But if we go way back to your parents, I did read that your parents came from artistic backgrounds as well. So I think I read that your father maybe was a musician and your mother was an artist, but I think I also picked up in some interview segments. Was your mother also like a tour manager?
Yeah. She managed a Christian rock band in the late 80s. And the last single we put out was a song for her. It was called Prize of the Hudson. She grew up along the Hudson River in New York. And it was late 80s, and that was her heyday as a rock and rolline. So we went with kind of like a Def Leppard sound. And the late 80s hair. The album, by the way, is called The Centurion, and it's a retrospective of musical pop music throughout the 20th century. So we start at Y2K, we go all the way back to the turn of the century with an Irish folk ballad.
And so for this new album too, like I realize you've been in the game for quite a while and you have an extensive discography already to your name. But with the new album, it does seem like there's a lot more with the outfits and the visual aspect. Like you can see it that you've grown over the years into that, but you're at an extreme level now with the costumes and everything. But I also see that as far as what you're doing on the more music side to go with that for collaboration, like you've also signed with Emm Gryner's record label as well. So is this all working together? Is this a vision that you had from the get-go for the Centurion?
Yeah. I knew that I wanted a character for each song and from each different era. And in the album artwork, when it comes out, my friend Jason Ogden in St. John, he did an incredible job on the artwork, and the visual has always been just as important to me as the sonic. So anyway, with regards to Emm, I love that lady. She's just so, and I love her. I've always loved her music so much. I've been sending her my stuff for years and years and years. But this this record. Well, what happened was she wanted to know if I sewed because she liked one of my looks that I did, and she was wanting to know if I could sew up this. She's half Filipina, Filipina kind of top for her, and I was a little reticent because I didn't have her here. I'm in New Brunswick, she's in Ontario, and I wouldn't be able to fit her. So I said, well, I'd love to do something for you. So why don't you send me a jacket or a shirt that we know fits you really well? And you can send it here and I'll add all the embellishments and stuff and send it back. So we were talking back and forth about the piece a lot. And in the meantime, I was mastering this album, and I asked her if I could hire her just to listen to some of the masters and get her take on the EQ. And because how it is when you listen to everything 1,000 times, you kind of lose those fresh ears. And she had fresh ears that I trusted. So she said, yeah, sure. So I hired her to do that. And she just fell in love with the album, which is really exciting for me. So Dead Daisy was always the label that I wanted to be on. So pretty lucky.
Yeah, it was funny for myself researching. Like I saw that immediately once I saw the video, but also knowing that she played with Bowie, and in
Yeah.
your early looks where you were playing with the visual aspects, you could see the Bowie influence there for sure.
Yeah, and that wasn't a conscious choice, but people would always say that, and I'm ashamed that I didn't know his catalog really. I mean, I'd heard a couple things, but yeah, and now, I mean, he was incredible. He was incredible. So I welcome that comparison. It's very
Oh,
flattering.
for sure.
Yeah.
And now the early part of your music career, like in the earlier part of the 2000s, what would be like 2006 to 2009 era, you were starting off for music?
I
Is that
started ZWeRG in '96. So
Oh, 96. Okay,
yeah,
wow, even further back.
I was 18.
So that didn't have the theatrical element to it at the time.
No, well, I was always a pretty eccentric guy, but I was really into the local post grunge kind of stuff, like
Hmm.
Elevate Myself, Eric Strip. So my first couple of releases I did with Rick White.
Okay.
Uh, it was kind of like lo-fi piano garage music. So just one mic with my parents' upright piano, and then his grungy guitars, and he did all the other instrumentation. That stuff actually did pretty well. I kind of lost my way after that, I think. um, Leora Kornfeld at CBC Vancouver would play it on Radio Sonic all the time, and Brave New Waves in Montreal played it all the time, so it got lots of national airplay. And then after that, I was like, no, it's just so me. Like instead of sticking something with something that's working, I'm like, no, I'm gonna go do this direction now. So I did this kind of like retro synth pop before it was repopularized,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of people didn't understand it, and I kind of lost my way for a while.
So what was the inspiration for revisiting it? And like you do have, as you already kind of alluded to, like it's a concept album where you kind of have a theme going through each song.
Yeah, yeah.
So was this a conscious revisiting of the musical element, or is this just a natural organic growth of where you've always been going with it in the first place?
Oh, I'll tell you where the idea came about. Well, people who hear me play piano know that Tori Amos is my favorite piano player. So, uh, her album Scarlet's Walk was going to come out, and I was acting in Toronto at the time, and I was reading about this new album that was going to come out. And the way the article made it sounded like it was going to be a musical retrospective through American pop music. I thought, oh, that's brilliant! I can't wait to hear it. So when it came out, and it wasn't that, but it was amazing, one of my favorite records ever. I thought, oh, I'm going to keep that idea and do that sometime. And I started working with her string arranger, John Philip Chanel, and he produced my last album. We did like a piano dance record. And I thought, okay, well, he's a music historian. He does all these brass string arrangements, everything. He is the guy for this record. So halfway through the record when we get back to, I think he started on the 50s, 50s all the way back to the turn of the century. He did the arrangements and just some incredible stuff. I can't wait for it to come out. But the record's very diverse. It's it, but I think the concept holds it all together.
And you do have a lot of different connections. Like if I go through all the notes, I mean, we'd probably need a 3 or 4 episodes to cover all the different people that you've been collaborating with. With all those connections and the fact that you have an acting career as well, and you've been in different cities. I know you spent several years in Toronto as well. What brings you back to the East Coast?
Well, what happened was in 2006, I decided wanted a break from auditioning, and I was going to go teach uh, English in Iceland. So I took a TESL course in Halifax, but then I found out I was going to be an uncle, so I wasn't
Okay.
going anywhere. So that's why I stayed. And then a couple of years after that, I met my boyfriend, and I wasn't going anywhere then either. So, and he's from Miramichi, so we have
Oh,
this
perfect.
beautiful cabin here north of Miramichi, together, and we've been together since 2009.
Wow.
So, yep.
Well, congratulations on that. But I do like to hear, I mean, that's mostly what people do say, people that have left and came back. It's
Yeah,
harder in some ways to continue an arts career on the East Coast of Canada, but I do find the family roots is what pulls a lot of people back. Besides the fact that it's a beautiful region.
oh yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, there aren't many opportunities here really, unless you're really getting some of those clicks. I hate to say it, but uh, it's wonderful here for a creative project here in the
Mhm.
woods. It's just so peaceful, and yeah, can't beat that.
And so was this new video that you're doing, you'll be filming that obviously in the local area?
Yeah, Shediac actually, and the director cinematographer is Tyler Warren Ellis, and he does all of James Mullinger's stuff, and he's fantastic. And we're going to go to the giant lobster that my brother paints and shoot in front of that, and then shoot in front of some. He did some butterflies, some permanent pieces at the waterfront in Moncton. So we'll do some shots there too, and maybe some other murals that he's done.
Oh,
Very
I love the thematic part, but like not just the theater part, but the thematic part of being able to tie all that stuff together and that there's a backstory behind it. It's kind of like when someone gets a tattoo and they either pick something
yeah,
out of a book that's just a standard one, or they're like, I want a tattoo that's kind of this because it
right,
means this to me. Like it's nice to see that the thought in behind all of the artistic elements is there and that there is meaning.
exactly.
Do you get much feedback, like interaction from your fan base? Because I would assume that based on your location, probably a lot of your fan base would be online that you'd be interacting with them.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been pretty reclusive, so I don't really have a big fan base.
Hmm.
But M's helping me with that because, admittedly, I said to her, "Look, I'm not good with technology, and I'm not good at self promotion." But she's great with both of those, so
Hmm.
trying to help me hit Spotify. So I'm
Perfect.
trying to build that up right now. But oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well, must not have been important.
Oh, I did see on Spotify the probably one of the most viewed ones was a cover of a Winter Sleep song as well.
Yeah, that's a popular one, and the other one was Lester the Lobster. Got on a lot of the kids compilations.
Oh yes, I could see that. And so, what about live performances where you have such a visual element to it? I know you have done performances in the past, but do you have a plan in the future to be doing some type of tour element or some events?
I'd love to. I just started rehearsing again. I'd been kind of in production mode for a couple years, and then with
Mhm.
COVID, there wasn't much. But yeah, I really love playing live, and I miss it so much. And now I've been contacting some of the restaurants I used to play at and hotels and stuff, and it's all different managers. So
Right.
kind of get my way in there again somehow. But yeah, next year I want to hit like pride events and stuff. I think they would get the drag element.
Yes. And that was another thing I wanted to ask you. I do know that you do the songs yourself, but you also do it with full band as well. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of different people that you've been collaborating with. Uh, John Mullane, I want to mention because his name pops up like every other episode, so I feel like I have to mention him.
Johnny, he's awesome. We went to Moncton High together.
Okay.
I was in his Smashing Pumpkins cover band for one day. I think because I looked like Darcy.
Yes.
I, I was the bassist. But then I think we were supposed to play at a coffee house, and I had a math test, and wasn't doing very well in math, so I didn't play. And then I think I was kicked out.
Oh yeah.
But no, John is awesome, and I love his mantra of any song that he works on it as if it were his own.
Yes.
He takes care with it, and he always gives it an amazing product. So he's a great guy.
Yeah, it's been all good words about him all the way around every time he's referenced on here.
Sure.
Now, you had mentioned like as far as like a drag element to it, or at least being parallel to with your Spotify discography. I do see that you've released instrumental versions of almost every one of your songs, if not all of them.
Yeah.
So, is the purpose behind that? Is there an audience out there that will sing over top of it, or is it just to have the instrumental version? I do know that you also released like some lip syncing clip from your last video with M there of your own lip syncing pieces before the video.
Yeah.
So is there some drag elements that tie in with performance wise? And is there something behind the instrumentals as far as the purpose or of the audience that you expect to have for that type of thing?
Well, originally the idea was for soundtracks for film and TV.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the lyrics, as you know, can probably deter them from picking your song for a certain scene, but maybe the music is right. Right. So and then Em was happy to see that I do that. She suggested that I always do that too. And the mastering house I work with, Alan Duches in New Windsor, New York, which is actually where my grandmother was born. Um, he's fantastic, and he always uh, adds in the instrumental versions for me.
Oh, perfect. So
So
it
mostly for soundtracks. Tom Fitzgerald has been using a lot of songs, so I'm very grateful to him for that.
awesome. And you've had a lot of nominations over the years, and like I said, you have the a good full discography. So going forward, when is the Centurion full album actually coming out?
Well, I'll have to talk about that with them because I'm kind of enjoying putting a single out at a time. You do music too, right?
I don't. I hang around a lot of musicians, thankfully. So I live vicariously through hundreds of other people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so different now, isn't it? It's how
It's weird. It's weird being behind the curtain a little bit too. It is there's stuff that you can tell from either side,
yeah,
but for people that are trying to live off of this type of thing or really trying to make a go of a vision that they have, it is really interesting the differences for different perspectives of what success is and is not.
right. Yeah, because Em was saying she was explaining to me now the cycle of a record is kind of the opposite of what it used to be. You'd put the record out and then put the singles out, and now people put the singles out and kind of get people warmed up to the album, and then you can put the album out much later if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure. The concept is to put out a single with a video for each song, and
Okay.
then maybe put them out at the end. But that would take quite a while. So I'm not sure. Not sure on that one yet.
And well, speaking to that too, you already do have, what is there, half a dozen already, or does this new one make half a dozen?
Yeah, this is the fifth one. Yep.
Okay. So you're already making your way through the track listing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe an EP somewhere in the middle as a teaser to what the full album's going to be.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
That's probably something that I've noticed, especially with the Nova Scotia bands that I'm following. It seems like three or four singles and then an EP, then
The
another
younger,
rotation.
yeah. Some of
So
the younger bands that I like now, I know doing that.
yes, and you must find too, like you mentioned some of your early influences being that like kind of 90s sound that we had all around this region. So are you, as we're the same age, so are you finding that some of these newer bands sound a lot like the bands that we were listening to in high school?
Yeah, yeah. And then there's some new trends too. Like, what do you think of cursive singing?
I haven't gotten into that.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, there's a few different ones.
What?
There's a few different ones. Have you run into that there, like in your area?
Yeah, it's such a trend. But then I'm thinking, when I was a teenager, the older generation said, I hate that. So I'm just turning into an old curmudgeon.
Oh yeah, yeah. It happens eventually.
No, I respect it.
Yes,
It's
absolutely. And
just,
that's
go
what I
ahead.
like doing here with this podcast is to be able to show a little bit of everything that's out there,
Yeah, that's
because
great.
it's a respect and celebration for all of the arts.
Absolutely. That's the way to be. And I do have a newfound respect for trends because they do help chronicle time.
Oh,
Like, we
absolutely.
wouldn't have the 40s look, or we wouldn't have the sound of the 20s, or it's all based on trends. So I have to be respectful of trends.
Yeah, you're gaining wisdom as
Yeah,
the years pass by.
yeah,
But we're not aging. We're just gaining wisdom.
exactly.
Like I said, we're the same age, so you can't be aging any more than I am. So
What
we're
month?
locked in for a while.
Yeah. What month are you?
January. So I'm months ahead of you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm October.
So coming up for you this fall, I know that Music New Brunswick has their awards and everything in the October timeframe as well, and it's your birthday month. Do you have
Yeah.
any big events or anything planned for October?
I just contacted them to see if it's too late to apply to play, and they said it was.
Oh
Uh,
no.
yeah, but that's okay. I'll just get on the ball now.
Yeah, not too late to visit and make the
Late.
rounds, do some networking there for sure.
Exactly.
Well, I'm actually planning on visiting there this year myself too. So if you're floating around on site, be sure to stop by and say hi. I may not immediately recognize you without the outfits on, but I'll look for the triangle motif because you always seem to work a triangle in at some
Yes,
point.
that's on my forehead.
Is that does that have a meaning behind it, or it's just something that you did early on and stuck with?
Well, I liked the look initially, and then I realized, well, triangle is a gay symbol, and all my life I was so ashamed of it. Now I'm not anymore, so I wear it very proudly on my forehead now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. So at the end of these episodes, we usually play a single from the artist. Typically, it's the latest single, but I always let the artist select the song. And I realize in your particular case, your latest single is a matter of perspective because you just had one out. You have one that you're doing a video for right now.
Yep.
So is there something that you would like to play out with for people to get a taste of what it is you're doing?
Yeah. Let's do Jaredactyl, the one we're shooting tomorrow.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, I'm going to keep an eye for that video to come out. I recommend everyone check out the last video with Prize of the Hudson.
Yep. Yep.
Before I let you go, is that a play on the Hudson Prize?
Oh, I never thought of that till just now.
Use that next interview. You can
Well,
you can lie and say that it was on purpose.
exactly. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks again for your time, and we'll be keeping an eye on what you have going on in the future. And we'll put a link down below to your homepage so people can be sure to get all the links to all your latest and greatest.
Thank you so much.
And we'll play out now. Anyone new to East Coast DNA, be sure to hit subscribe, and we'll have plenty of new interviews coming up in the next couple months. Thanks again.